far as the NAC goes, the tournament is a little smaller than usual, and maybe the economy having some impact on it a little bit, or right now the weather is stopping flights from coming in. But the tournament has been the best NAC I've been to in a real long time in terms of starting on time. They're going back. I had a student get a red card for not being there, so the tournament was, the first pool was over, DE started almost immediately, so it's going real well. I've been in it for so long. I've seen it starting from the grassroots up, coming along. I remember in my era competing, if you could make points, if you could make a 32, that was like, wow, we did that. So we were kind of the best of the mediocre. And now the Americans, when Americans show up at the World Championships, they know they're going to win medals. So it's kind of nice. If you can make a U.S. team now, you can medal.
Yeah, and also on top of that, a lot of the events, you have a large group of people who could actually make the finals. I know that when I started getting into fencing really competitively, certainly at the national level, I felt like there were just a handful of people who really could make a national final, quarterfinals and up. But now I feel like there's at least easily 60, 75 people or so, maybe even 100 that can make a final. So the depth is much greater, much stronger now.
You can see someone win a NAC event and then go out in the 64th.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly become much more of an athletic event, and I think that coaches are paying way more attention to what's happening now. I know that personally we are recording statistics on what our fencers are doing and what the opposition is doing as well, and I just think that really what's happening now is it's being taken more seriously. It is more of a sport. Yes, way more professional. Well, the Division II, Division III event now becomes a stepping stone for the Division I. And that in a lot of ways, it's almost like it's a different sport. It's the same things that are happening, but you just have way less time to make those mistakes. The good fencers are going to jump on those actions, so it's kind of exciting. You have somebody who wins the Division II event, they feel good, and then at the same time they have another level to look forward to where they can develop again.
That's always going to be on your resume. You're always going to have that when you apply to a school. You can say, I want to do 2-3 events, and they're tough because there's so many people. You've got to be pretty steady to do that stuff, as well as just getting great to win. Basically, it's not what you see in the movies. It's very fast and it's done electronically, so you can see what's going on. I say, come on out and try it. And once you try it, you can really tell. For the kids, I say, just come out and have some fun. You get to hit and hope. You get to poke people.
Absolutely.
Hit and hope. What do you think about that?
I think one thing that's nice about it is that it is, at its heart, it's a combat sport. And it's a combat sport where you don't get hurt, which I think is hugely important. And right now, mixed martial arts is very popular. Boxing, of course, has always been popular. And just one of the great things about fencing is that it puts you in an environment where there are, again, just like you were saying before, there's so many different avenues to success. You have fencers who are extremely athletic or extremely intelligent. There's so many different ways to pursue the sport, and you get to do that, but with very minimal risk.
It's a sport that anyone can do. Yeah. You won't find that in certain sports. You'll find that there's a body type or a certain way that you have to be. But in fencing, you can find it. You can find tall, thin, short, heavy. Some are very tactical. Some are very just sly and sneaky. And it's if you fence, you're going to fence 100 different people in a year. That's going to be fun, not just the same guy over and over again.
And you can stay in it forever. Even this event, you have so many different. You have the Division II, Division III. You have 13-year-olds fencing. Then you have veterans. You have 60-year-olds fencing. It's a sport you can carry for your entire life. Actually, our club, for the most part, is based on a very young membership. And unlike, I think, a lot of clubs, we have a class structure. So, for instance, we have a youth class, we have a youth competitive class, and it just works up from there. A large percentage of our kids are around 6 to 14, and we have lots of them. The way that we usually treat our children as a Northwest Fencing Center, a lot of our exercises are based on listening skills and concentration. Having a high state of preparedness will also translate into your fencing. These are life skills, things you're going to take with you outside of fencing as well. But developing those things, developing that ability to really listen and pay attention to what's happening, to paying attention to your environment, I think is critical to success in many fields. So I think in and of itself, that's one of the things that we try to push early on in fencing. And on top of that, there's always there's balance and there's stamina. I mean, there's cross training as well. We have a lot of our fencers jumping rope. So it's development for the mind as well as the body.
Probably the thing that people don't realize, you have to develop an ability to not necessarily control your environment, but to handle a lot of stuff going on at once. You're juggling in fencing, you're juggling several balls. You're not, in the gymnastics, you're practicing a routine. And you have to handle the stress of the moment of doing it, or running. You've got to be in great shape, and you've got to work hard, and you have to don't push yourself. In fencing, you've got an open, skilled environment. It's changing all the time. You have to deal with referees. So you have to handle adversity. You have to control your environment. As far as the physical skills, you have to be fast, you have to be strong. Yet if you're too strong, it hurts you. If you're too fast, it hurts you. So it's one of the greatest sports that you can find that encompasses many, many different things, from stress level to controlling your environment to physical to mental. What I've discovered most recently is something that is very rejuvenating for me, a breath of fresh air, is the veterans. We have some veterans at my former club now, and I see them fencing. And it's kind of the older fencing. They'll argue about, no, it's your hit. It's not my hit, it's your hit. And they'll beat the tar out of one another and go out and have a drink afterwards. And I'm finding right now I am so drawn to that. And I'd like to say to all the veterans, just bravo. It's exactly what you want. There's no political stuff going on. They're out there, they're fencing, so they're going to have to. I'm getting more involved in that. I think that's a blast. I'm really psyched to see that. If there's more people older in fencing, and maybe if you've never fenced before, try it, because you're walking into something at a really good place at a really good time. Because you want to try a sport. I believe a lot of guys, in fact, all the people in our program started, they haven't fenced for long. They only fenced for 3 or 4 years, and they're just having the time of their life. Actually, my mom got hurt when I was 6 weeks old, and she would be fencing, and she's pretty smart. There's the fencing gym where they fence, and the water fountain here. So she put a blanket in between them. So me and my brother would be sitting on a blanket with little kids, and people would walk by with the water fountain and fighting. So she kept us starting then. Started competing when I was started training when I was about 10, and I did lots of sports. Phys ed teacher, competed in a lot of different sports, tried them all. Fencing has always kept me. It's 3 different weapons, so much more involved. I loved soccer, I loved basketball, I loved wrestling, and lots of it. But fencing for me was it.
There are a lot of people who get involved in fencing who don't have an athletic or sport background. I was one of those. So when I was in school, I had a couple of friends who said, hey, you want to try this out? It's a great sport. See how you like it. It sounded interesting and different to me. I decided to try it out, and they just basically mugged me. They just beat the tar out of me. So I made it my effort, entirely, all my effort, my concentration, my blood, sweat, and tears to beat those guys. And they were friends of mine. It was a rivalry, but it was a cooperative rivalry. And it's just so easy. You can get hooked with it so easily. There's so many different ways that you can pursue it, and it's just lifelong.
It's a disease.
It is. But that's one of the nice things about it, being a sport, that you don't have to necessarily have a sport background. I know that I started my involvement in the sport when I was about 20, which is pretty late to start any sport. Certainly it's late to start fencing as well. But again, it's just something that it's so easy to get hooked. It's so easy to get hooked. And one bout you're fencing a kid. It's 13s bouncing around, tons of energy, rambunctious, you're trying to fend them off. The next bout, you're fencing someone who's maybe close to your age, thinking about what's happening more, applying maybe even more tactics. And there's so many different ways to approach the bout. It stops going. And certainly the veteran level, I think, is really exciting now. And one nice thing about it, again, is that it's becoming more widespread, and people are coming back into the sport, who've had maybe a hiatus of 10, 15 years or so, and getting more invigorated, more interested. So you're seeing people creep back into it, and of course there's tons of new members. So right now it's a very exciting place to be, and it's a large field. Most of the events now are just growing, which is what you want.